are you a little worried that CJ Carr at Notre Dame it started off a little slow here during preseason camp?
I'm not worried because this is something that we talked about when Steve Angeli entered the transfer portal, Blake, is that Kenny Minchey was a more viable option to start this season than people realized. Mm-hmm. They had 3 guys that they felt confident enough going into spring ball that they'd be willing to let them compete. They wouldn't have told Steve Angeli to leave if they didn't think either Kenny Minchey or CJ Carr couldn't get the job done. I think that Kenny Minchey's a little bit of a better athlete, and this is, again, something that we talked about way back in the spring, that his tools work a little better for Denbrock's offense, for what he wants to accomplish. I think if CJ Carr does struggle and he doesn't end up being the starter, there is nothing to truly worry about because Minchey has been doing a great job. There being 2 options to turn to makes this situation a lot more viable, and it's something that Notre Dame hasn't had quite a bit at the quarterback position since Brian Kelly left. First couple of years, we're dealing with Drew Pine and Tyler Buckner. Now you have an opportunity to pick between 2 guys that are gifted. One of them just needs to separate, and it seems like Minchey's doing it at the current moment.
I'm going to push back. Anytime that you have a young quarterback, I literally talked about my own team in doing this, a first-time starter. So I don't want to hear that this is any form of bias of me when I literally last offseason came in here and said it about the team that I cover and the own quarterback and team that I root for. No, it's not good. Let me tell you something that I am in the minority of when it comes to being at practices. Practice reps become game reps when real live bullets are flying. You remember a season ago, I came in here and said, Joe Garrett's throwing way too many picks. I got ridiculed for it. Now, listen, is Kenny Minchey potentially, if he can not turn the ball over, going to win that job? Yes. But I do think that you're seeing a lot of youth at that position, and I think there's a couple of things that are going to happen here. Notre Dame's going to have to out-physical everybody within the first 6 games of the season because you're not going to want a quarterback in a dire situation to go into somewhere with a good defense, with the game on the line, and having to throw the pill around. John, I don't know enough about Kenny Minchey. You go right on ahead and think when you're turning the ball over, even if it's a really good defense, it is a big deal.
Okay, but I think that we can have this conversation and not land on both opposite ends of the spectrum. There is a middle ground, I think, to be had with this. I think that there is a middle ground to think, okay, maybe whoever starts at quarterback, if it is Kenny Minchey, and I agree with you, by the way. If you're throwing picks and you're having these many turnovers at the beginning of training camp, that stuff usually does show up during the season. It means you're making mistakes. You're not seeing the field the way that you need to. Sometimes young guys are not as ready as we hope them to be.
Correct.
But I think with Minchey, him being a better athlete, and you just said there, them having an ability to run the ball with a good O-line and 4 deep at running back, that they can run the ball a ton. They did it last year. They survived last year running the ball a lot. Riley Leonard made some great plays extending the pocket and throwing on the run or evading pressure. That's something that they won't have, that same level of pocket presence right off the bat. But the fact that they were able to survive last year by not leaning on the passing game was fine for them. So I understand where you're coming from. I just can't go all the way with the
problem with last year is that your schedule is a lot tougher this one than it was a season ago. Teams are A&M's better this year than they were in game 1 with Elko. I think that we can both agree with that, right? Yeah. Yes. But again, I'm telling you, Kenny Minchey, and I agree with you on this, based off of what Denbrock wants to do, okay, and getting outside the pocket a lot and having somebody that will run the football at that position, I do think Kenny Minchey, if that is the case, may find himself in a unique position in week 1. Regardless of that, even he, per reports, we were not there, but per people who were there for the practice, it was one guy threw 3 interceptions, and then the conversation around Notre Dame was Minchey wasn't better when it was time to throw the football either. So again, based off the video that I sent you, based off of people that were there, if you're throwing interceptions and the guy didn't separate himself, my question becomes, well, then what was he doing? So again, we will monitor that. But it's not as if that Notre Dame doesn't have a tough schedule in the first 6 weeks. They got some tough challenges with young quarterbacks for a first-time starter. I will agree with you on some middle ground. It's not everything, but you do it a lot, it can become something.